For the U.S. jobs report, I sat down with Saruhan Hatipoglu, the Berry CEO, and he talked to me about and explained portions of last month's numbers that worry him most.
Mixed feeling. There's good news in that the unemployment rate is going down. It's encouraging. But I'm worried about the labor force participation rate, which last month was the lowest since 1978. It improved a little bit, but there's still a big problem there. And the second problem is the hourly wage growth, which is almost non-existent. So looking ahead, these are going to cause some structural problems in the labor market, and I'm sure Federal Reserve is thinking about that.
It's been more than 4 or 5 years now since we've begun this recovery, since the depths of the crisis. Let's start with the issue number one, the participation rate, because this has been a problem, not just this particular monthly report, but in the past couple of years. We've been watching this very closely. What's happening here with the participation rate? First of all, explain how they calculate it and tell us why you're so worried.
Well, I mean, I'll leave that to the economists, but I'll tell you this. Labor force participation rate is low because of 2 reasons, in my opinion. One, there are people who are discouraged. They don't want to look for a job anymore. During the recession, they went through this, and they just gave up. And they're added into the numbers still. That's number one. Number two, America is aging. Baby boomers are retiring. So that's definitely a structural impact on the labor force participation rate. So if you look at these all together, and of course the cyclical impact of the recession, we're still feeling that. Yes, market is improving, but that is still there. So all those things together explain why the participation rate is low as it is.
Let's talk about the global market, but before I get there, the holiday season is coming up. There are a number of stores, I won't go through all of them, but they're hiring records amount of seasonal workers. Is that something that we should put in our head when we look at these jobs numbers? How much of an impact does that have?
Oh, great impact, and it's beautiful that it's happening finally, right? Because I look at the consumer confidence index, it was about 95, it was 89 last month. Low prices of oil, strong dollar, benign inflationary environment. These are all things that are helping consumers.
The stock market's at a record high, the unemployment rate's going in the right direction, and all the numbers are good, most of them I should say, but yet the vast majority of Americans still feel sort of uneasy about the economy. Is there a disconnect between what we see on TV versus the reality on the ground?
Sure, because if you look at different states, middle America and all that, you're seeing the wage growth is not up there. People are still worried. They're uncertain about the job they're holding. They're also not able to make future plans in terms of spending because they don't know how long they'll be holding that job. So yes, overall, there's some disconnect. But again, that's something that is going to maybe not disappear, but gradually lessen in the next 6 months to a year because the economic fundamentals are looking good.
Globally, it's been kind of an awkward year. We've had the situation in Ukraine. You've got the European situation where they're trying to get back on track again, and you had this discussion about slowdown in China. When you look around the world and you look at sort of the job growth situation, do you feel optimistic about 2015?
The U.S. is going to benefit from this in the next year. There's going to be more job growth because of this. Companies will have more money to invest. So those are good things, but globally, no. I'm actually quite worried because there's another recession starting in Europe. Japan is involved in uncharted waters. China is slowing down. And emerging markets are kind of in a tricky situation as well, right? So there's no other engine than the U.S. So if you're putting all your eggs in one basket, that's always dangerous.